SEO. Let's talk a little bit about this word, search engine optimization. It's pretty much a new word in terms of looking at the history of trends and how things change in business. And talk a little bit about the search engine optimization budget and um, the way that traffic is contingent on the budget.
When it comes to SEO, you have to first of all think about what you want out of your campaign.
Right.
So if you want to be, number one for your small town and farmers market, or your small town and shoe repair, or something like that, you might only have a half dozen competitors in your town. Right. So getting to number one for your term might not cost you anything, or it might cost you something as low as like 99 bucks or something like that a month, and you put yourself on a small program. If you want to be number one for your industry term, if you want to be number one for drill bits, or something huge that you're going to sell a lot of product worldwide, chances are you're going to be in a much more competitive space, which means the amount of work that you're going to have to do to get to the top will be a lot harder. So your budget is dictated mostly by your own goals. Mm-hmm. If your goals are to be a big fish in your small pond, probably less than $1,000 a month will get you by in the SEO space. If your goal is to be a big fish in a big pond, you definitely are going to have a much larger budget to look at.
Right. Yeah. I was talking with somebody quite recently who was talking about they wanted a search term for their industry that was very, very specific, and so they had a budget and what they could allocate towards that. And I thought that was really, really great for them. Unfortunately, the budget wasn't enough for them to go after that search term. Why would you say that they wouldn't be able to get there for a small amount of money in terms of the search engine optimization?
Well, the way that search engine optimization works essentially is you have to beat your competitors. Right. So if you go in and really what it comes down to is there's no secret here. The number of websites and the quality of those websites that link back to your website directly defines where you're going to position on Google. And sometimes it's about quality, sometimes it's about quantity. It's usually a mix of the two, but the numbers usually dictate. So if you go to, the best way to do this is I actually use Yahoo Site Explorer. So just go to siteexplorer.yahoo.com. You punch in a website address, and it will tell you how many inbound links it's got, or inlinks they're called. And if you punch in the guy who's number one for the term that you want to go after, and then go look at yourself, you'll see the ladder that has to be climbed. And sometimes that number's high that you have to beat, and sometimes that number is attainable. Most of the time, in my case, as a for instance, right now, one of the sites that I personally own, we're trying to rank in the top 10 for diamonds, which is a massive term. We're looking at having to build up about 48,000 backlinks to our website to beat the number one result.
Did you do that for $99 a month?
No. No. That's definitely sort of a custom budget. That's pretty much you have to think about it though. It's your budget is in direct result, will bring a direct return on your term that you're going after.
Right.
If you spend the money to go after diamonds, once you get there, you're selling diamonds. Right. I mean, it's a lot easier to make your money back than it is to try and be number one for Orangeville scrapbook store.
Right. Yeah. And you talked about going on to Yahoo Site Explorer. Does it always give you the amount of people that are actually backing into your site? Is that number a true representation?
Those numbers are never a true representation. I don't use them for that as much as I just use them as a comparison point.
Right.
The competitor's got 48,000. I've got 1,000. I've got 48 times more work to do to get to where they are. That's the estimate I look at. I don't look at their numbers and say, okay, I have to keep track of how many links I've got. I just know that I've got to do 48 more times the work that I've already done to get there, and that'll probably get me where I need to be.
But could you do like 48,000 really crappy page one rank?
No,
backlinks?
Because it's a quality quantity issue.
Right.
The quality of your backlinks dictates a big percentage of. In fact, I've seen situations where one really good backlink will beat hundreds of crappy ones.
Right. Yeah. And it's finding those things, and I guess that's where the value comes in.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about SERPs, search engine positioning and ranking. For the site that is on number 1, number 2 of Google on page 1 versus the site that's on maybe 7, 8, 9, and 10. Is there a difference, and what would that difference be?
The difference is exponential. we've had sites in really high value terms at like number 3, number 2, number 1, and the difference is usually about 50 to 100% more traffic each time you climb that ladder 1 position. So going from number 2 to number 1, I've seen traffic almost double.
Really?
From just that one. Hey, kitty. From just that 1 position.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot. Because if you, but is it that much harder to get there too, though?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's exponentially, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's a question I hear all the time. Once you get there on page 1 of Google, how do you stay there? What do you do?
Well, it's the same amount of work, really, that it took to get you there as it will take you to stay there. And the analogy I always use is, when we were kids, we used to play a game called King of the Hill, right? And how King of the Hill works is here in Canada, anyways. You get up on the top of the snowbank, because we didn't have big hills, we had snowbanks, and all the other kids would try and pull you down off the top, and whoever pulled you down would pull their way up, and they'd be on the top. Well, that's Google. That's the whole game. Google is King of the Hill. Page 1, page 100. You're playing King of the Hill wherever you are. And so once you get to become King of the Hill, let's say you're number 1 for your industry term, you're riding high, things are going great.
Right.
The argument is, and we've seen a lot of clients do this, they fire us. They say, we're number 1. You did your job. We don't have a budget for you anymore.
Right. Right.
And then we say, well, you really shouldn't do that. And they go, whatever. And, I've seen this happen. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this happen. And then 6 months later, they call you and they say, we're number 9 now. Or we're on page 2. What happened?
Right.
Well, it's not what happened. It's what didn't happen. You stopped playing King of the Hill. You just assumed that you were number 1 and you were going to stay there. And maybe you created a little throne for yourself and you sat in it and someone pushed you off.
Right, because it's always going to be somebody more powerful with a bigger budget, or if they're going to pump their resources into search engine optimization, and that person's going to.
You're in a race, and once you've taken the lead position, the last thing you want to do is stop racing. You have to maintain your lead, or you're in trouble.
It's a good analogy of the race, because I've seen, we've seen a lot of races on TV and stuff where there might be a relay at the Olympics, and you don't see the person who's winning the race all of a sudden just drop the baton thing that they're holding, the relay.
Go and take a break.
Yeah. Go grab a Gatorade or something.
Yeah.
Right? They're gonna continue. They're gonna finish the race. They're gonna keep going. Yeah.
And a lot of people make that mistake. And the argument that we have is that when you get to position 1, you should increase your budget.
Oh, really?
And you should be looking at other terms. You should be increasing because if it's working for you financially, you should be investing more money in it, not backing off.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Brad.